Yeah, the Victory Monday edition, Mr. Relevant, presented by Door County Distillery. I'm Alex Strouf with you from the Gruber Law Offices, One Call That's All Studios at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Joshy DiMaggio is here as well. Extra pep in his step today as the Packers win big over the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. 34-13, the final, a 21-point victory. 4 touchdown passes from Jordan Love to 3 different receivers. We will dive into all of that as well. The Cowboys, however, drop a big one. My grandpa texted me asking how Tiny Hands felt about it, and Tiny Hands never replied, so I would guess not well, as they get shellacked by the Detroit Lions. Producer Tiny Hands, Hunter Vaughn, back in the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison. Hunter, you okay, buddy?
Yeah, I got that text while I was driving, and then because I was coming back from doing Wisconsin volleyball. Honestly, I just kind of checked out after like the first quarter. Like I saw what was happening. Okay. So I'm just like, whatever. This team's bad. I knew they were bad. Like it just is what it is. So yep, I'm just over it. I'm on to NBA season, hockey season, college basketball. The first top 25 came out for the AP. Marquette's at number 18, so I'm just ready for all of that instead. I'm out on the NFL season.
He's out on the Cowboys. He's out on the NFL season. He's out on the Cowboys right at the moment as Packers fans are like, whoa, this team is back to a Super Bowl level, right? And by no means are the Arizona Cardinals a Super Bowl team. And by no means they might not even be a playoff team, given their record through 6 weeks now. But it was an offense I thought had some potency to it with James Conner and Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride, right? They have weapons offensively, and I thought that was going to pose a little bit of an issue for the Packers defense. The Packers defense showed it was not an issue yesterday, holding them to 13 points a week after, they hold the Rams to 12 points defensively. This is a defense that makes you want to kiss Jeff Hafley on the mouth the last couple of weeks, frankly. You have to be really happy with how this Packers defense has played the last couple of weeks. Offensively, it was the best Jordan Love game of the year, of now the 4 he's played through 6 weeks. It was his best game. Still an interception, but 4 touchdowns to 3 different receivers. That counts 2 to Romeo Doubs, a really nice throw to Christian Watson. And Jaden Reed does Jaden Reed stuff right at the beginning of that game. So 4 touchdowns, 3 different receivers, I think 9 different pass catchers throughout yesterday's game. The running game looked solid. Jordan Love looked comfortable. He made some really nice decisions. He just looked comfortable. For the first time, I would argue, all season. He looked comfortable week 1 against Philly, but still not his best game statistically as the season kicks off. He didn't have a lot of preseason reps. So yesterday was really the first time all season where I'm watching Jordan Love's performance and I'm going, whoa, that's what we remember. Right, I made the question of the day on Green Bay Game Day, the pregame show we do yesterday. Jared Bush, Steve Scafidi, Jason Wilde, Rob Domowski all joined me yesterday. I made kind of the question of the day, has he been more Favre or Rodgers through whatever it was prior to yesterday, 22-23 career starts? And it was kind of a split answer, right? He's shown so many moments that are Rodgers-esque, especially in the second half of last season. But early on in this season, he's shown some Favre-esque decision-making skills. And you didn't see that yesterday. Love goes 22 of 32, 258 yards, 4 touchdowns, and the interception, as I mentioned. A quarterback rating of 119.5. Really nice game for him. I thought Josh Jacobs was good out of the backfield, 18 carries in a rainy game. Not a ton of yards. He averaged under 4 yards a carry. But I thought he was good. I thought Emmanuel Wilson provided a really nice pop. Bo Melton having a couple of nice carries out of the backfield. And then ultimately when that game got out of hand, Chris Brooks makes an appearance in the fourth quarter there. So the running attack was good. Offensively, spreading the wealth quite a bit. Jaden Reed with 6 targets led the way for the Packers. But Romeo Doubs had 4. Christian Watson had 4. Josh Jacobs 3 targets. Tucker Kraft 4 targets. He's spreading the ball. And this goes back to something we talked about all offseason, which was the Packers' superpower offensively is the depth they have at receiver and pass catcher really overall. As I mentioned, Josh Jacobs with a few targets as well, Tucker Kraft with a few targets, as he continues to evolve as the top tight end for this Packers. So offensively, you're really happy with what you saw. Defensively, I think you're happy with what you saw. Quay Walker leads the way in tackles. Still a couple of moments where you go, Quay, can't be doing that. Evan Williams is a stud. You're a better football team when he's on the field at safety. He was the diamond in the rough draft pick, it seems, at least so far, 6 games into his rookie season. Evan Williams is phenomenal, and he had a really nice game yesterday. Kyler Murray not sacked at all in yesterday's game. 0 sacks total in the Packers-Cardinals game, which, again, that's something you want to establish a bit more of is that pass rush. But when you compare the stat lines between Kyler Murray and Jordan Love, their completion numbers are exactly the same. They were both 22 of 32. Love just did a lot more with it. 258, 4 touchdowns and an interception. Kyler Murray, 214, so about 44 less yards and only 1 touchdown. The Packers making crucial stops on 3rd and 4th downs throughout the game. I thought defensively this was their best game, but overall as a team, this was their first complete game. We talk a ton about complementary football and setting up for success. This was the first time this season in 2024 that the Packers played an entire 60 minutes of stress-free football. I don't think there was a moment in yesterday's game where I went, uh-oh. Right, you had that moment at the end of the Rams game. They have the ball. They're only down a score. Matt Stafford's still Matt Stafford. You're going, uh-oh. Yesterday, for the entire 60 minutes, it was pretty stress-free. You have a 24-10 lead at halftime. You extend that lead in the third quarter, and you hold Arizona scoreless in the fourth quarter. You felt really good about this Packers performance, and they're keeping pace in the absolutely stacked NFC North. This is the first time, I think, since 2002, all 4 teams in a division have 4 wins by week 6. I know Adam Schefter put a tweet out there yesterday about that. The NFC North's absolutely stacked. The Bears are 4-2. The Packers are 4-2. The Lions now 4-1, and the Vikings, who are on a bye this week, 5-0 on the season. This is as competitive gets, and you have a really sexy matchup this weekend for both the Packers, who play the Houston Texans, but also Minnesota and Detroit go head-to-head this weekend in week number 7 of the NFL season. So we are officially in the part of the season where things are getting really interesting in the NFC North. Lions are for real. I mean, they just completely smoked Hunter's Cowboys yesterday. It was never close. That offense, and Ben Johnson, man, when they find a hole in an opposing defense, they just run it into the ground. That's what the Lions do. If you can't stop a play, they're going to continue to run it 10 times. I mean, that is such a Dan Campbell brand of football, but that's what makes Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator, so good too, is when they find something your defense can't stop, they're just going to hammer it into the ground. So the Lions with a really impressive win yesterday over the Cowboys. The Packers with an impressive big victory over the Cardinals yesterday. The Bears get that win over the Jags, who stink, in London. Now, the Bears might be frauds, but they're still 4-2. They beat up on some bad teams. They don't have great wins on their resume, but the record is what the record is. They have the same record as the Green Bay Packers in that NFC North. This division is absolutely stacked. But when you walk away from yesterday's game at Lambeau Field, you are thinking to yourself, yes, this is the Packers team we expected. This is the Packers we saw at the end of last season. This is the team that you've wanted to see all year long, and you haven't really seen it in a complete fashion yet. So finally today, you walk away on a Victory Monday going, yep, that's what we expected. Cheesehead Bucky says, my guy, it's Happy Victory Monday. Garrett on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube chat says, when you get to stock up, stock down, you got to give a stock up to Caleb Williams, who also threw 4 touchdowns. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be doing that. But I will agree. His stock is up. You played the Jags, so take it with a grain of salt. But a win's a win, man. You never apologize for winning in the NFL. And the Bears can't apologize for beating the Jags, just like the Packers can't apologize for back-to-back wins over the Rams and Cardinals, who just aren't at their level. But a win is a win, and the way in which the Packers won is a hugely, hugely important detail to this Victory Monday celebration. The Packers didn't just beat the Cardinals. They smoked the Cardinals, and they looked really good doing it. This offense looks potent. Matt LaFleur continues to get creative. You look at Bo Melton, right? Two carries out of the backfield. One on more of an end around, but one where he positioned himself in the backfield with Chris Brooks in the fourth quarter and took it for, I think it was like 7 or 8 yards. It might have even been longer than that. I think it might have been like an 11-yard carry there in the fourth quarter for Bo Melton. So all in all, a really impressive victory. Well coached by Matt LaFleur, but I think there was no more important, outside of the way in which they won and how they won, there's no more important thing to outline than Jordan Love's performance. Jordan Love looked like he was worth every penny. He looked, this is why you pay quarterbacks what you pay quarterbacks, right? $55 million a year. Jordan Love was spectacular yesterday, outside of the interception. But even with the interception, if you promise me every Jordan Love performance, you're going to get 4 touchdowns and an interception, I am taking that every week. Because you know you're in a position to win. When Jordan Love is, responsible for, I guess it's technically 24, but let's just say an even 28 points offensively, you feel like you're going to win every week. So what Jordan Love did yesterday, ginormously important for his return from the sprained MCL, now his 3rd game back, but certainly the game in which he looked the most comfortable, and certainly the game in which you walk away going, yeah, that's the MVP candidate we've come to expect. I thought Jordan Love was great yesterday. So all in all, very exciting Packers victory. I mean, again, it's not about the win. It's about the way in which they won. It's about the way in which Jordan Love competed and looked and executed everything offensively. Matt LaFleur, terrific. And as I said at the top of the show, type of game that makes you want to smooch Jeff Hafley on the mouth. That defense, man. Whoo, Joshy. Real quick. Safe to say they got a defense.
They need a pass rush.
Yeah, no sacks again yesterday.
They know how to turn the ball over. And they know how to make other quarterbacks confused.
Yeah.
I don't know how confident I feel with that pass rush against good teams.
The longest rush they allowed yesterday. Do you know who did it? Off the top of your head? The longest rush they allowed was 20 yards.
Was it to DeMercado?
It was not to DeMercado. The longest rush they allowed from DeMercado was 8 yards. The longest rush they allowed to James Conner was 9 yards, so not even a first down.
So then Trey Benson?
Kyler Murray's longest rush was 5 yards. Trey Benson, 5 carries, 26 yards. He got 20 of them on 1 carry. 20-yard run for Trey Benson was the longest run they allowed yesterday. Now, you don't want to be giving up 20-yard runs, but you're not apologizing for that. I was super impressed with the way the Packers competed yesterday. I mean, the way that they slowed down the rushing attack, only allowing 89 yards on the ground. Marvin Harrison obviously gets injured early in that game, so you didn't have that threat, unfortunately, because he's a really exciting young player. But Trey McBride was the biggest problem he had. You held him under 100 yards, 96 yards for a really good tight end. All in all, really, really, really good game for the Packers. Defensively, 3 fumbles, right, as Joshy just outlined. They didn't pick him off, so the Xavier McKinney streak comes to an end. But James Conner loses a fumble. Kyler Murray loses a fumble. Greg Dortch loses a fumble. And Kenny Clark, Jair, and Carl Brooks there to save the day. Whew. Smooch him on the mouth. Unbelievable. All right, we got to get to Brad Nortman coming up next, but first got to tell you about my friends, Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, and award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County. I mean, it's whiskey season for me. The fall, football season, it's whiskey season. I love the Door County Distillery bourbon, which you are about to see an apple butter bourbon fizz be made. Also, the 27-time gold medal award-winning single malt whiskey as well from Door County Distillery. But also, they got gins, they got vodkas, they've got rums, they've got brandies, whatever you need. They do it better than everybody else. DoorCountyDistillery.com to find the retailer nearest to you and a huge list of unique cocktail recipes. That's DoorCountyDistillery.com. We step aside for 60 when we come back. The former NFLer, Brad Nortman, gives us his insights on the Packers win and a stacked division. I mean, this NFC North is incredible. We will dive into that coming up next with our guy Bradley. Right here on Mr. Relevant, I'm Alex Strouf.
Happy spooky season. What's the best drink this October? My friends at Door County Distillery are going to teach me how to make it.
Fall in a glass, it's the apple butter bourbon fizz from Door County Distillery. All you got to do is scoop apple butter into a cocktail shaker, take 2.5 ounces of your bourbon, shake that, strain that, and then fill the rest of the cup with ginger beer. And if you like to, which I like to, dash a little cinnamon on top of that. Boom, shakalaka, you've got the apple butter bourbon fizz from Door County Distillery.
Cheers, the apple butter bourbon fizz. I'm not going to say it 5 times fast enough. There's like a apple cider taste to it.
Apple cider vibes, yeah.
That's like corn maze for adults drink. Is what that tastes like.
Check out their website with a huge list of unique cocktail recipes at DoorCountyDistillery.com. That's DoorCountyDistillery.com. DoorCountyDistillery.com is the website. Oh, boy. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Always love when Brad Nortman pops in for a visit, which he does like once a month now. It's good on you. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
It's like charitable work, right? Just hanging out with me for a little bit, talking football.
I would go further not further in the charitable part of it, but I just enjoy spending time with you, Strouf. I mean, how lucky am I to be able to come on the show? You don't have to ask me, but I am lucky enough to get to ask, so here I am.
Yeah, no, I really do appreciate your insights, especially on a day like today, right? Because I think the last time we had you on was following that Eagles loss. And now, Packers are 4-2 in an absolutely stacked division, right? Bears 4-2, Lions 4-1, Vikings 5-0. I'm so impressed with the way the Packers won yesterday, right? Not the fact that they won, because that's a team you should beat. And the Packers, in our minds, at least, as we approach the halfway part of the NFL season, this is a team that should be beating bad teams. And I don't think the Cardinals are quote unquote bad. I think they're a little frisky. Their offense is kind of fun. The Packers defense looked amazing. Jordan Love looked absolutely elite. 4 touchdown passes, 3 different receivers. You saw the wide receiving or pass catching really depth on display. The way in which the Packers won is the important part to me. A 21-point win at home to get back to 4-2. Just all in all, has me feeling very good on a Monday.
Yeah, these are the kind of Mondays that you love as a fan. You really do. And it's hard in the NFL to put together a complete win that looks like this, right? Because, the Arizona Cardinals are getting paid too. I mean, those are elite players on the other side. And to have a 21-point victory, it's just not common in the NFL. I know that if you guys were like me, you watch the Detroit Lions whoop on the Dallas Cowboys.
Sorry, Hunter.
I mean, sorry, Hunter. Lopsided victories like that are just not common. I mean, the average margin for error is 3 points, and even good teams. My estimation for the game was the Packers would win by 4. It's close the whole way through. So most games in the NFL, even with good teams playing bad teams, as we would objectively qualify them, would say, it's likely going to be close. So the Packers came out firing on every cylinder, right? I know we could nitpick our way through the game plan.
And the coaches will.
Yeah, and they will, and as they should. And if they want this team to move forward, they should. If you have a Super Bowl caliber expectation, you should. I know there's kicking and pass rush, things that are still continued problems. I'm not sure there's an easy fix for. But on the offensive side of the ball, I was just waiting for Jordan Love to click. He found his accuracy. He found his timing. This was the dude that you paid $55 million for, and it was on full display. I mean, that interception, not his fault. Bo Melton slipped, but you're reminded of everything you can do and how it's almost indefensible when you've got your full arsenal. You can protect Jordan Love, and when he's on board with his timing and accuracy, with Matt LaFleur calling the shots, I'm not sure. They're a top 5 offense in the NFL when all of that is happening, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. And defense, right? The defensive side of the ball, I walked away. I heard you say, to give Jeff Hafley a big smooch. I think that's warranted. Yeah. I really do.
As long as it's consensual, I guess. But
of course. Yeah. If he invites it, absolutely.
Don't walk up to Jeff Hafley on Lombardi Ave and just smooch him. Yeah. Don't do that.
There's still a few items that I have enough concern about to where I'm not saying this is a championship quality defense yet. The pass rush still concerns me.
Yeah.
And it's weird, right? When we talk about the turnovers, it's something we complained about. I know I complained about it all last year and previous years, right? Big plays. How can you change the game in turnovers? Because if you win the turnover margin, you likely win the game. But on the same side, there's a weird part of me that's a little bit concerned about that. It seems like this team relies heavily on turnovers, right? And I just wonder, once as you play really good teams like the Detroit Lions, the Minnesota Vikings, and the San Francisco 49ers, those teams don't give you the ball. Now, you can certainly make plays, and they have made plays between Jair and McKinney,
obviously, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's been enough guys that have just went and made a play. They've earned the turnover. But there's been a lot of turnovers that have been sort of given to them. I felt like the 3 fumbles were mostly given to the Green Bay Packers. And you never apologize for taking them. But I just wonder, how does this team start to stack up against a team that maybe doesn't give them the ball so much? And they've been excellent in stopping the run, no doubt about that. It's just my one concern about this defense is if you're facing a good quarterback, good to elite, and you can't get a pass rush on him, and you can't turn the ball over. Like, that is a matchup that's going to be tough to conquer as currently constructed. Which
This weekend.
It's going to happen this weekend. So I'm dying to see how the Packers do against C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans.
Yeah, we'll look more ahead at the week that will be in Week 7, obviously, as we roll on in the week, both on KBN and on here on Mr. Relevant. But there are some really sexy matchups in the NFL next week.
Yes.
Right? I mentioned Green Bay and Houston, or you mentioned it just a second ago. That's a huge one for the Packers. Lions and Vikings play next weekend.
Sneaky great.
So obviously the Vikings 5-0, Lions 4-1. That one's got my attention. Super Bowl rematch next week, Chiefs and Niners.
Ooh, so good.
Also on the schedule for next week, and then you've got kind of a sneaky matchup as well. You have the Ravens and the Buccaneers Monday Night Football next week. So there's some really, really interesting games for how teams are beginning to jockey for playoff positioning and whatnot on the schedule next week. Just the NFC at all. I don't know that or NFC North, excuse me. I don't know that we've ever seen a division this successful this early, right? I think Schefter put up the stat yesterday on the NFC North. I forget exactly what it said. It's the first division since realignment in 2002 with all 4 teams having at least 4 wins through 6 weeks. It's that stacked. Now, I don't buy into the Bears totally yet, but 4 wins is 4 wins, as we've talked about already. You're never going to apologize for wins in the NFL. Packers 4-2, Bears 4-2, Lions 4-1, Vikings 5-0. This is absurd.
It's absurd. It's staggering is what it is. And I almost, not that I feel bad for professional athletes, but I feel bad for the teams in the NFC North. In any other division, you would look at them and say, maybe outside of the Chiefs and maybe the 49ers, but you look at them and say they are the juggernaut team that will win the division, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe not the Bears, but Packers and Vikings and Lions, you'd say these are juggernauts that are just going to dominate the division. Impossible to do that when all 3 of those teams are in the same division. And I don't think the Bears are going to go on and make the playoffs or win the division, but they're certainly not an easy win. It's not like you're playing the Browns or my Jaguars or my Panthers. Right? Oh, there we go. Loose mic. I'm getting too excited here. There are no cupcakes in the NFC North.
No.
And you look at the schedule and you just, even in prior years, there'd be at least one team where you say, oh, that's a sweep. Like, we're good. Mm-hmm. That's a guaranteed victory, as much as a guaranteed victory could occur in the NFL. So it's going to be a gauntlet. I don't see that ending or changing in any way throughout the year. And what it means is the Packers likely won't win the division just because it's just going to be hard to, beat the Lions or the Vikings, and they already have a lead on you. And it's going to make their journey to the Super Bowl that much harder. Nobody would elect to go the wild card route. And even your playoff berth, to get to 9 or 10 wins, that will have to be earned. So it's kind of like those days, and I guess it is like now between like the Big Ten and the SEC, where you just have stacked talent, and if you will really have to earn everything you get if you're going to live in those divisions.
No, it's a great point. So I'm just looking at some of the standings. The Bears would be in first place of the NFC West.
Think about that.
Packers would be 2, obviously, at 4-2. San Francisco and Seattle tied for the lead in the NFC West, both 3-3. So that gives you an idea of how good they are. The Commanders are 4-2. Every other team in the NFC East is 3-2 or worse. In the AFC, the Bills play tonight, but they are 3-2, leading the AFC East. If they lose tonight, they would still be, I guess, technically tied for first, but the Jets would jump to 3-3. So if the Jets beat the Bills tonight, every team in the NFC North would have a better record than every team in the AFC East.
It's interesting, right? Because now for the Packers, every divisional game is a big matchup. I know
it already is, but it's even bigger now.
Even bigger. I know when the Packers played the Vikings and we were leading up to that game, there was a big discussion, like, is this a big game? And I was in the camp of, this isn't a big game. This is just a divisional game. And, it's week 4. You're going to sort it out throughout the year. I stand here now saying every NFC North is now a big game the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. And not just that, every NFC North game, Packers not included, that's a big game. Because there would normally be snoozers, right? You get the Vikings and the Bears on Monday Night Football at the end of October.
Nobody really cares.
Yeah, you'd say, I guess I'll turn it on because it's the NFL. That is must-watch TV now.
Yeah, so this stat is bananas, too. Josh, you just went in my ear with it, so credit to him. But the NFC North, number 1 in point differential in the NFL is the Minnesota Vikings, plus 63. Number 2 in the NFL, the Detroit Lions, plus 60. Number 3 in the NFL, the Chicago Bears, plus 47. Number 4 in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers, plus 41. The top 4 teams, the top 4 teams in point differential through just about 6 weeks of the NFL season are all in the NFC North.
So do you give the Packers a little bit of maybe not a pass, but do you look at the environment of the division and say it's okay to temper our expectations then because it's such a gauntlet? Like winning it would be the most earned division crown in 20 years.
Yeah. I totally agree with you in that regard. But no, I don't think so, because the expectations are the expectations. The expectations for the Green Bay Packers entering the season was they are a playoff team that should compete for the NFC North. I would say through 6 weeks, they're still doing that.
So you haven't decreased your expectations at all? Still at least double-digit wins?
To be real honest with you, Brad, you know how roller coaster of a fan I am.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday didn't help. I mean,
we're flying high now?
Yeah.
We're flying high.
I feel like this team can compete with anybody the way they played yesterday.
I mean, if they play like they played yesterday, they could.
Jordan Love looked outstanding yesterday, right? And I saw a couple comments come in on the Love interception, which I outlined, not being his fault. Sure. But again, as I said earlier before you jumped in, Brad, like if you promise me every week Love is throwing 4 touchdowns and an interception, I'm saying yes, please sign me up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? I mean that guarantees you, I guess not with the kicker situation, but it guarantees you 28 points essentially. That should be good enough to win in the NFL.
It should be.
And I am really curious to see how the rest of the season rolls on, right? Do the Bears come back down to earth? Do the Vikings come back down to earth? Does Sam Darnold continue to be Sam Darnold? I believe in the Lions. I believe in the Packers, but I still feel like there's going to be some slip-ups down the road, but that's natural in a 17-game NFL season. But I am blown away by how competitive this division is, how successful they've been through 6 weeks, and that point differential stat is just insane to me. But could all 4 teams make the playoffs? That's where my head starts to go. Is obviously you have 3 wild cards in a division champ. You need to be all 3 wild cards in the NFC. The way it's trending right now, I believe that would be the case. It would be. Yeah,
I suppose it's possible. You'd have to have the interdivision games stack up just right because they're going to start beating up on one another,
right.
And that'll put a ceiling on win total. My big question is, at some point, the best teams start playing their best football, right? It's sort of the regression to the mean. The team that you are is likely who's going to come out in the end. Mm-hmm. So I just wonder, of the NFC North teams, if each team is playing at their best, who's the best? To me, if we're going to ask that question, I think the Lions are still the best. I think if the Lions are playing their best football, best coaching, I know Aiden Hutchinson, huge loss.
Huge loss. I mean, he was the Defensive Player of the Year frontrunner.
You can't understate how big of a loss that was. But I still think they're the better team, slightly better coached. After them, I think right behind them is the Green Bay Packers. Just on their heels of the Green Bay Packers. I think the Vikings are... they're good. They're really good, obviously. But I think they are playing their best football right now. I'm not sure you could play better, given their personnel and coaching, than they are right now.
So peaking too early. Are they? Are they peaking too early? We don't know if this is their peak by any means. But
it would be hard to sustain this level of play because I think they are maximizing everything right now. I think they're maximizing their defense, their coaching, Sam Darnold, and the entire offense. I know Aaron Jones just got hurt. He's week to week. Welcome to being a Aaron Jones running back type of franchise where when he's in, boy, is he good. But, how often can he be in is the question. So they might be peaking too early. But
listen to the schedule. So they have the Lions next week, which is a big one.
Yep.
Then they go to the Rams. They host the Colts. They go to the Jaguars. They go to the Titans. Those are all very winnable games. I mean, this is a team that could be looking at like 9-1.
And no matter how you're playing at that point, I know the Eagles had that and they sort of fell off the map last year, but it's hard to just get 9 wins in the NFL in a whole season, let alone do that. So even if they play average the rest of the stretch, it'll be hard to beat them for the division. So I still believe playing best football, it's Lions 1, Packers 2, then Vikings, then Bears. But the big question is, because we've said that about this Packers team, when they play their best football, they're very hard to beat. Mm-hmm. They're so young. Can you stay consistent at it? A Monday like this, after a victory like that yesterday, you're looking at it and saying, this team has everything in front of it, and it does. But that youth component, that experience component, that does play a role. You're going to be fresher than most teams, but you're going to have less experience than others. So can you peak at the right time? Can you sustain this? And can you be consistent? That's the Packers' questions in front of them. But very few teams throughout a 17-game schedule can put together a full victory like that. Any game, even one. And the Packers did it already. So you're looking at it with a lot of optimism. I feel good about the future of this season.
How big is this matchup this weekend against the Houston Texans, right? In terms of a win-loss record, even if you lose that game, it doesn't affect you a ton. Obviously, it's still a loss in your record. but it's an other conference opponent. It's middle of October, so you don't want to be playing your best football yet anyway. I just feel like this could be such a convincing win if the Packers are able to beat the Texans on Sunday, because it shows you that they can beat and compete with anybody. The way they beat the Cardinals is so important, right? A 21-point victory. Love looking that good. The offense looking that good at full health at the wide receiver position. Defensively, 3 turnovers, no interceptions, but 3 fumble recoveries. You hold Arizona, who has, like I said, kind of a sexy, frisky offense, to 13 points. You feel really good walking away from that one. Houston's kind of a different beast, though. I mean, they're a legit team. And to have that middle October kind of measuring stick game, I think that's hugely important for the Packers. And it's popping up right at the right time as Jordan Love starts to get into his groove.
Yeah, this will be one of the best matchups of the season for the Green Bay Packers. I don't think it's as big of a game as playing the Vikings and the Bears and the Lions. The division, why the division is so important, not as important as those games. But, I mean, I don't know. I know they play the 49ers too, but this is almost, to me, the most intriguing and the most exciting non-divisional matchup of the whole year for the Green Bay Packers. You don't face a team like the Texans very often. You know San Francisco, right? So you know the brand they play. But to face up against a marquee AFC team who's on the short list of teams that are Super Bowl caliber that could actually take on the Kansas City Chiefs, that's the Houston Texans. So, and honestly, too, for just this season, the Packers haven't beaten a good team this year. Right, the good teams they've faced, they've lost. The Eagles and the Vikings, right? That makes them the 4-2. The 4 wins they have are against subpar opponent. This is the other team. The next opportunity to face a team that's just as good, maybe better than them, and to get a win. I don't think there's any better opportunity than to do it at home. At Lambeau, you're not going to have face Nico Collins, which is awesome.
Yep.
But those 2 DNs they have in Hunter and Anderson are nasty. So Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur and his
might be running
plan.
a little bit.
Yeah, he might be running, might be quick out of the hands. This is a matchup that I cannot wait for Sunday at noon. It's a huge matchup. No other way to put it. And if you're going to go on that Super Bowl run, if you're going to compete for the division, these are the kind of games that you can't let slip away. You got to beat good teams at some point, and this is as good of an opportunity as any to go out there and do that.
2 4-2 teams in the state of Wisconsin. You are, of course, a former Badger. I need a State of the Union after what happened on Saturday. 42-7 win over Rutgers for the Badgers. I mean, didn't see that coming. I'm not surprised they won. Didn't see that coming.
I was expecting, maybe hoping is a better term, because they were an underdog out there against the Rutgers. I was hoping for an ugly victory, which is not what we were going to get, and we just got a second blowout in a row. And it seems like, again, where everything was clicking for the Green Bay Packers, it seems like it's clicking for the Wisconsin Badgers. To me, I love my analogies. This is like when you're watching a movie, like usually it's like a sports movie, and it's not clicking. There's drama. There's coaches to players, all this kind of thing. And then something happens in the plot line where everything clicks. And then what follows is a montage of success. I feel like that's what we're experiencing a little bit. There's all this built up drama of this isn't working. Something is off. There's a disconnect between player and coach and fan base. And there's this pressure cooker, right? And then you string off games like that where you don't just win, you blow out Big Ten opponents, right? A lower level Big Ten opponent, but Rutgers is quality. That's a sound football team on the road. So I look at it and say maybe something has turned the corner in the Luke Fickell era. I don't suspect them to win 9 games this year or anything crazy like that, but you look at it and say this is a building block. But before the Purdue game, and I doubled down on it before for ESPN Wisconsin College Game Day, before the Rutgers game, this team, it needed a little external validation, right? I mean, there wasn't a complete game. Even the wins they got, all in the Luke Fickell era, were just ugly, right? These were some pretty wins. This is the external validation that a lot of times these kids need. These are 18 to 22-year-olds, right? These are young kids. Every once in a while, even when you feel like the man, you need the external validation that, you know what these coaches are telling us, we can believe, we can trust. And particularly from the offensive side of the football, where there's just always been question marks, maybe Coach Longo has figured out how to utilize this brand of personnel, right? It seemed like we were trying to fit square pegs in round holes, all of last season and early this year. Maybe there was part of it where it's like, okay, my offensive line does this best, so we're going to tilt that into our scheme. Braden Locke, he likes to throw these balls. He doesn't like to throw these. So we're going to tilt the game plan there. Everyone just feels comfortable. It feels like they are performing to a scheme and an execution that they're capable of. And you're starting to see what the vision is a little bit. I wouldn't go as far as saying they've formed an identity, but now I know what this air raid offense is supposed to look like when it's clicking. It has pace. You're running the football. There's space, and guys are out in the space to make plays.
Yeah, there's still Penn State and Oregon on the schedule, which I think are both losses. But Nebraska, all of a sudden you're feeling better about that, the way they handled Rutgers this weekend. Minnesota, who isn't very good this year, but you have them at the end of the season, always give you a tough game. You feel better about that one. Northwestern this weekend, you feel better about it, right? All of a sudden you're going, whew, this team's a little bit better than we expected. That's a convincing win against Rutgers on the road. I think I'm back in. I was out. I think I'm back in. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if you can leave and come back in.
We don't want you.
Oh, Joshy.
I think there was plenty of room on the bandwagon from everyone else that hopped off too.
Yeah,
so you're welcome to be on.
I'm hopping back on. I watched it. I mean, I always watch it, but I didn't feel juice for the Badgers. All of a sudden, a 42-7 win has me feeling a little bit of juice. Big football weekend, by the way, in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah,
wow.
You love to see it. Again, you just don't often get that convincing, comfortable wins from both the Badgers.
It used to be a regular thing, Bradley.
Yeah, it did.
You might have still been in the league when that was a regular thing. Because your final year in Jacksonville was the year the Badgers lost to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, but the Packers were bad that year. But, this is pretty normal for us. Like, big wins, good teams, contenders.
I could get used to it. We talk about
it's going to be a minute yet for the Badgers. But hey, big win regardless.
Yeah, we joke about it on the show with like KBN, like, man, sometimes it would just be easier to not be a Brewers fan or a Packers fan and go through the success for the heartbreak. I think the Badgers are proving you much rather have the success and have the heartbreak than to be irrelevant, no pun intended, for the show. Because that type of existence to where you're not excited, you're off the bandwagon, it's just not fun. It's not fun to be a fan of those kind of teams.
No.
So if you can string it together, and even if we're just blowing out the teams you should, makes for a fun Saturday and Sunday.
I like Happy Brad. Happy Brad is fun.
I'm pretty happy.
Upset?
I'm usually not, but this is a good energy.
No, he doesn't get as low as maybe me or you do, Joshy, because, we're diehards. Brad is still getting acclimated to being a fan again, I think. I don't think, Badger fandom has never been in question with him. It's always been good. When it comes to Packers fandom, I think it's a little skewed for him, given his background, right? You spent 6 years in the NFL.
Packers didn't pay.
And the Packers didn't cut your checks.
Yeah, the Packers, I never received a check from the Packers, so it's hard to be bigger fans than them than the people that did pay me. And also, too, I'm not going to lie, when I played against the Packers, it was just weird then rooting for Rodgers and rooting for all the dudes that I actually played against.
Sure.
Now it just feels like fresh faces.
Now he's old.
Is
now
there
he's
a player
old.
left that was there your final years?
No.
No, I don't think so
Preston
at all.
Smith joined after.
Kenny
Jair.
Clark.
Kenny Clark was joined 16, so but I don't know if you would have played him when you were in Jacksonville.
I played him in 16.
So Kenny Clark's rookie year. That would have been it.
So all those years when I was released, look, there's still part of me that's like, oh, it's still the Packers and see them do well. And I'm still in that camp, but I am growing toward my joy of watching this team. And it feels like all fresh new faces. None of them feel like opponents to me.
Sure.
And the same thing goes with, the Jags and the Panthers, right? All the guys I played with are mostly gone now. So those will always be 1 and 2 in my heart because of that cheddar aspect of it, so to speak. But the Packers are a fun team to watch. I find myself becoming a fan once again.
Let's go.
How about that?
I have a question here, and this can apply to both of you.
Okay.
And this is less to do about Braden Locke himself and more to do about the other two guys.
He can kind of sling a little bit. Can we just throw
is
that
he
out there
just
quick?
the best thrower of the football that they've had the past two with Van Dyke and Mordecai?
Braden Locke?
Yeah, it feels like...
Is he the best? I mean, it's too early to tell in that regard. But, I mean, what he did on Saturday was certainly a good case for it, yeah.
I feel like even going to the USC game, I don't remember Mordecai or what's his name, Van Dyke doing much of that.
Van Dyke, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like Locke is a pure thrower of the football. He throws darts. I mean, he spins it, and they're kind of lasers. And when he's in rhythm, he actually hits the downfield guys.
Yeah, so he makes mistakes. He's gonna give it to the other team a time or two, but
he's just limited in his ability to extend plays, to run. He's small, so he gets hands, things batted down. So he's not complete. But as far as like just throwing the ball, he spins it. I kind of like how he spins it.
As Joshy would say, it's a pill sling. I hear Hunter's mic on. I didn't realize we were diving this deep into Badgers talk, but here we are nonetheless, and I like it. I like everybody. Everybody's in a good mood today.
Yeah,
which is lovely, right? We had a winning weekend in Wisconsin.
We've got one person who just cracked their mic that might not be in the best of moods.
Well, we'll find out.
Well, we're
Hunter,
talking Badger football, so now I'm in a good mood. There was an article this week that came out. I want to say it was Colton Bartholomew had the article, but he talked about the part of the reason why we haven't seen like Mabry Matoyer, the freshman quarterback, and the big thing for Phil Longo with his offense is you have to master it on the whiteboard before he's going to give you playing time. So I think part of the Mordecai and TVD stuff was that they're coming in as transfers, didn't have it completely mastered, but they're the transfers, they're the guys. Yeah, where Locke was a air raid guy in high school. Longo recruited him. He wanted him, went to Mississippi State. Mike Leach air raid. Like, he knows this system front and back already. So that's part of why I think we're seeing it, because he's confident in the system. So that's why this offense is where it is.
But pairing that information with Joshy's question, the answer would then be yes.
Yeah.
He will be the best of those three.
Yeah, and it feels like it. And I mean, we've talked about the Packers and their big plays. They're creating explosive plays at a rate no one else in the league can match.
Correct.
And the explosive plays came back for the Badgers. I feel like it's been years.
Yeah.
Like, even into the Paul Chryst era, that big plays weren't happening. Like, they'd get a big run every once in a while, but it feels like a long time since I saw a deep pass.
Well, I'll even say this, for sure in the passing game. I mean, the explosive plays are there. And it wasn't nearly as evident with the Paul Chryst era. But even the running game, it felt like oftentimes it was churn it out, churn it out, churn it out. Bam, there's your big run after 15 runs. The way this offense is designed ran well. And the offensive line has certainly stepped it up for sure from last year and even more recently. I mean, they're creating holes that the burst happens and you can get 10-yard runs, 20-yard runs like very quickly. So that's when you got a guy like Tyree Walker toting the rock who's strong and fast.
He's a stud.
Boy, it's exciting.
Yeah, he's a stud. No doubt about it. You're a stud as well. Brad Nortman, former NFL punter and obviously former Badger. A little Badger talk mixed in there as well. I kept you longer than I probably should have, so apologies, but appreciate you hanging out as always.
It's all good. Anytime.
The great Brad Nortman. You hear him from 2 to 5 weekdays, ESPN Wisconsin on Kyle, Brust, and Nortman, the former Badger, the stud NFL punter, one of the greatest ever, allegedly. That's what I've heard. In his tucked-in polo khaki outfit today. We didn't get to that. Maybe we'll hit that later on the show on KBN. But always really do enjoy Brad's insight because, look, it's one thing for me, Joshy, and Hunter to say things, right? Like, we're fans. We enjoy watching games, right? For Hunter, obviously, a huge Badgers fan, also a huge Cowboys fan. We're not talking about that. I know he doesn't want to, what happened yesterday against the Lions. But for Joshy and I, ginormous Packers fans, it's one thing for me to say, yeah, Jordan Love looked phenomenal yesterday, which he did. But it's another thing when you have somebody like Brad, and we've got a ton of them, right? Bulaga and Tauscher and everybody that's played the game, Gary Ellerson, to come in and say, here's what happened, here's what I picked up on, and this is why things went well. I just love hearing that stuff. I'm a nerd, but I mean, it's so good. So anyway, all right, let's get to stock up, stock down, which we do every Monday following Packers games, talking about whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling. Following the Packers game, which was a big win yesterday. So hard to come up with a lot of stock downs yesterday. So we're going to outline 3 stock ups, and then I will tell you the only stock down I came up with. And I don't think you'll be surprised by who it is. Let's start with stock up for the wide receiver, Romeo Doubs. After a tumultuous week and a half, which included a suspension last week against the Rams, Romeo Doubs returns in big fashion. 2 touchdowns offensively, leading the way for the Packers receiving corps. And the way his teammates embraced him following both of those scores was what makes sports so special. It was really neat to see. Obviously, kind of a wacky week. He avoided the media Wednesday, ended up talking to the media Friday. I still don't have a lot of clarity as to what he said on Friday after listening to every piece I could find on Twitter and all the other websites. It seemed like it was a little contradictory from Doubs, but the important part was, as we talked about Friday, Saturday, and leading into the game Sunday, is what happens next, right? Romeo Doubs can make this a blip on the radar. It can be an isolated incident, and it can be something we never talk about again. And Sunday was the perfect step to make that happen. Scoring 2 touchdowns, shutting down all of the discourse around what happened with you over the course of the last week and a half. It was the perfect way to do that. Score 2 touchdowns. Be a threat in the receiving game. Be the reliable receiver Packers fans and Packers players, your teammates, have grown to know you for. It's going to set you apart and set you in the direction to make this a blip on the radar, an isolated incident, something we can view as an afterthought now. And I think Doubs did the exact perfect thing he could in order to make that happen by scoring 2 touchdowns Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. Hunter, go ahead.
I also think it's a stock up for his teammates to put their arms around him. Like, you have somebody that's going through something mentally. That's exactly what you need to do. Don't let them push themselves away. So, like, as much as I can't stand the Packers, like, they have all done the right thing here. And it's super awesome to see, because this is a sport. The sports world, it's really easy to be, oh, you have to be tough. You have to be manly all the time. Like, no, give him a hug, put your arms around him, and be there for him.
And I will say, one more thing on that is Jason Wilde has said this 100 times over the course of the last week. Everybody needs a friend like Christian Watson. You saw that both in his actions, but also in his words. Post game and throughout the week when it came to the Romeo Doubs situation, he is a great friend to Romeo Doubs, and it was particularly evident after that first touchdown score yesterday. I saw Christian Watson's dad too on Twitter tweeted, what makes me most proud of this team as a dad is the characters of these guys, right? And to have each other's backs. So the beautiful part is, I think this is the last time we're going to need to talk about the Romeo Doubs situation all season. Like, I don't think it's going to pop up anymore. It seems like it's over and done with, blip in the radar. Doubs returns in the fashion he does by scoring 2 touchdowns yesterday against the Cardinals. Let's move on, and now let's continue to debate what the wide receiver power rankings are, right? Like, let's get back to the silly nonsense we talk about when it comes to football, rather than a situation that occurred, unfortunately. But Romeo Doubs did the perfect thing to shut it down, return in a big way, and he did. And Jordan Love obviously helped him get there. So that was that was an important thing to see. Another important thing to see, which we talked about a bit earlier, which is Jordan Love. Jordan Love's stock up. After the Rams game in which they won, and you saw a bad decision, which resulted in a really cool play, that 60-plus yard throw to Jaden Reed, and also that pick 6. I mean, you were questioning his decision-making. Is he comfortable? Does he feel like he's fully healthy? Can he use the leg? Can he run a little bit? You saw everything that you wanted to see out of Jordan Love yesterday. I thought he was phenomenal. 4 touchdowns, the interception, who, as we referenced earlier, not really his fault. That offense looked like the second half of last season. Scratch that. That offense looked like they did against the Dallas Cowboys in the wildcard game. This was their best game since then. And I don't even think it's close. Between the San Francisco playoff game and the 5 games prior to this, the offense hasn't looked this good since the Dallas game. So Jordan Love, terrific, looked elite, looked worth every penny, looked like the MVP candidate we thought he could be this year, which still a lot of season left. He could get back in that conversation. But this was certainly the step in the right direction for the quarterback, Jordan Love. Phenomenal day for him. Really, really, really good to see from the offense. And then defensively, everybody's got to claim this guy. Number 33 is a good jersey for the Green Bay Packers. Evan Williams was phenomenal again yesterday. You are a better defense when the rookie safety is on the field. Had the big punch out of the fumble. I think it was in the second half for Evan Williams. And he had a crucial tackle in the fourth quarter as well. And I guess not that crucial as you were winning big, but it was a third down stop. I thought Williams was phenomenal. This is a guy Joshy has claimed, if I'm not mistaken, dating back to the draft. This was a pick you were excited about, and he has proven it in a big way. He was good in the preseason, had a really nice game again yesterday. Second or third time I think he's come up in this segment already this season. But the punch out was the cherry on top for his performance yesterday.
The one thing I want to tack on is actually a different name. Keyshawn Nixon getting moved outside and playing as well as he did.
Yeah.
I was very impressed. I was very nervous when I first saw that. Obviously, he's played out there before, but it's been much necessity.
Correct.
And the Packers obviously want Bullard and Williams on the field a whole lot. The snap counts will dictate that. But he stood up well out there. Granted, it was Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, and some other guys I don't know.
Yeah, no Marv.
But I was impressed with his play because he has to be able to play out there for Evan Williams to stay where he is.
So, Keyshawn Nixon's an interesting one, and you're right. It seems like he's not getting burned, and we know nickel corner is probably, beside quarterback, it is probably the hardest position to play well in the NFL. That's why those guys get locked up if they're good at it. I think it's McDuffie in Kansas City who got signed this offseason, who's a great slot corner. Like, if you have a good slot corner, you sign him to a mega contract. That's just a theme we've seen in the NFL the last few years. Keyshawn is good to average as a slot corner. So flipping him outside and seeing him play the way he has the last, I think 3 weeks ago is when they started that against Minnesota, I think he's been really, really solid. Now, the question that brings up, though, Joshy, is you see Jaden Reed get banged up on a punt return. If Keyshawn Nixon's playing outside, do you still want him returning kicks? The kicks are probably fine. But punts? Or should they go another route here? Because, A, you definitely do not want Jaden Reed out there anymore. He should never return another punt.
Yeah, he's also mistake prone back there.
Yes, true.
He's had a few where he makes
bobbles.
He makes some questionable, or he's catching the ball like over his head, which you never want to see. The thing is, Keyshawn Nixon, I still think his best attribute is returner.
Tend to agree.
But when you're lining him up at an outside cornerback position, that's also a very valuable position.
But what does that tell you about what they think about some of those other guys?
I'm interested because I thought they were just going to go Carrington Valentine.
I did too.
And clearly they feel better about Keyshawn Nixon out there. Now, we always have to run this through investments and what the kind of the bets they made. But clearly Jeff Hafley really likes Keyshawn Nixon because now we were questioning should he be playing in the slot as much as he was because he was a 100% player last year at that position. And now he's playing outside and seemingly playing well. I think Valentine is he's the future still there. They're still playing him a lot. Eric Stokes seems to be the odd man out.
That's the question I was getting to. Is the former first-round pick, Eric Stokes, seems like things might not be looking up.
But at this point, how good do you feel? You have 6 defensive backs you feel pretty decent about?
7.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's been the most impressive group probably defensive. Well, actually not probably. It has been the most impressive group defensively through 6 weeks. Obviously, the addition of McKinney is ginormous, but Evan Williams has made some really big plays. Jair's had a nice season when he's been on the field. You feel great about what Keyshawn Nixon's done the last few weeks, to your point. So it's a great problem to have. It's a great problem to have. Not so great problem to have. Who's ready for this conversation? The only stock down I came up with. Josh, you don't know the answer, but you do know the answer. Who's the only stock down I have?
Nervous Narvison.
Nervous Narvi. Yeah, Braden Narvison stock down. Misses another kick yesterday. And again, it's not a crucial situation. I still feel like, hindsight being what it is, you could probably make the case that he had some crucial misses in that Minnesota game. Now, Minnesota would have handled it differently. They wouldn't have attacked the fourth quarter the way they did had Narvison made that more of an interesting game. And I think they still would have won regardless. But we're getting to a point where a change is necessary. With how competitive this NFC North is, with how the expectations of the Packers lie, which is a legitimate championship contender, you have to have a kicker that's not this prone to issues. Is it 5 misses in 6 weeks now for Narvison?
Yeah, and 1 taken back by penalty.
Right, against Tennessee. Now, we did establish the rule, Hunter, that once he goes a game without missing a kick, he gets to have a Green Bay Packers picture. He still has a Green Bay Packers picture on our video stream on YouTube at ESPN Milwaukee at ESPN Madison.
I didn't think that was switching because he missed a kick.
No.
Okay.
I haven't established. We haven't established a rule for that. But I'm asking if maybe we should. Should we establish a rule of when he misses kicks, he goes back to being the Titan, Braden Narvison, on our pictures?
Maybe.
I think it should just be a photo of Old Yeller.
So you'll make that joke, but you won't tweet that joke?
Yep, you got it.
It's a strange guy.
I have a question. Now, we've all had bad takes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Has a take ever blown up faster than your Narvison we got a kicker take? Because that was...
No.
Yeah, that was bad.
It was last week of training camp to week 1 and now for 6 consecutive weeks.
So that's similar to me asking at the beginning of the show today, do we have a defense? I hope that doesn't blow up in my face because I told people to smooch Jeff Hafley, right?
Yeah.
for how well he's done as the defensive coordinator through 6 weeks. No take has ever blown up faster on this show. No, I mean it fell apart immediately. Like we forgot to lay the concrete for the foundation of that take. Is what happened there.
Yeah.
Things just came crumbling down.
You didn't lay down your rebar.
Right.
You didn't let it cure all the way, and it started crumbling the instant somebody stepped foot on it.
Yeah. So not our best. Not my best work. I think it's time for a change. I'm ready for it.
This is one of those situations where it hasn't cost you a game yet.
But it's going to.
It is going to.
And think about this weekend, Joshy.
Yeah.
Would you be shocked? And you can chime in on this on YouTube, too, at ESPN Milwaukee, at ESPN Madison. Hunter, also want to hear this from you before we get to me telling you about our friends at Underdog and what we learned to wrap up the show. Would you be shocked, any of you, if I told you the Packers lost by 1 point on Sunday to the Houston Texans, and it's because Braden Arvison went 1 for 3 on field goals?
Not even a little bit.
I don't think so, right? I mean, that would not be... If Braden Arvison went 1 for 3 on field goals and the Packers lose, let's just say, 31-30 to the Houston Texans, that falls on him.
The Packers have the worst kicker in the NFL.
That is correct.
And that is, by all the numbers, everything we can look at, nobody has performed worse from shorter distances
Real quick.
than Narvis.
Real quick. Hunter, you're a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
Let's put on your Jerry Jones hat for a second.
Yep.
Just partial Jerry Jones. I don't want you to be Jerry Jones. Just put on your hat of his for a second. 4th round pick for Brandon Aubrey, yes or no?
No.
3rd round pick for Brandon Aubrey, yes or no?
No.
2nd round pick for Brandon Aubrey.
Probably.
Okay.
I think you have to at that point.
And Joshy, do you say yes? Would you sign off if Goody called you right now and said, "Hey, Joshy, just gotta pull you for whatever reason it's you that he's calling. I just gotta pull you." Jerry said he would send me Brandon Aubrey for a 2nd round pick. You pulling the trigger?
I think at this point I'm high enough on this Packers team in the youth that that's really the missing piece. Is it not? Like where obviously you want better pass rushers, but those don't really come available, especially for 2nd round picks.
Right.
Hunter, Aubrey's not, he's like 24, 25. Like he's
a young kicker, yeah.
That's a decade.
Yeah, I mean, he is slightly older because of his MLS run there. But,
Right.
still, yeah, he's still in his 20s. He's not even 30 yet.
Right.
I'm also wondering, because I don't know if they're going to make a move, because, I don't know what else is really out there. And I'm still wondering if this is more of a coaching issue and not quite a kicker issue. But, are they going to approach 3rd and 8s when they're at the 40 a little bit different? So instead of okay, we just got to get a couple of yards. If we get the 1st down, great. Otherwise, we're in field goal range. They're going to have to start going for it on 4th down at this point to try and get touchdowns instead.
They're going to be driven to be Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
On 3rd and long, they don't care if they get 4 yards because they're going for it and it doesn't matter.
Correct. Yeah.
They really don't. They're not too concerned about let's just get points on the board here. They're we're going to just score as many touchdowns as humanly possible.
And that's the irritating part and the concerning part, frankly, for the Packers.
I believe in and I'm closer to Dan Campbell and how I think teams should handle 4th downs. But he's a little crazy at times, going for him even when he gets backed up.
Yep.
But I'm still more fond of that style of game. But at some point, you need field goals. Mm-hmm. There's gonna be a time where you have a minute left, and all you need is a field goal to win it. So just get down the field.
And the thing is, none of us trust Braden Arvison in that situation.
I can't trust him from 40.
You can't trust him from 40 when they're up by 17 points.
We had multiple kids on our high school team that could make 40 field goals.
It's funny you say that because I did see probably the high school game of the year this past weekend. I believe it was West Appear and Bayport up in the Green Bay area. It was a final of 45-43, game-winning 49-yard kick for West Appear.
Yeah.
So well done by whoever hit that kick.
The Wisconsin Badgers have guys more than one guy that can make those kicks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a level of the fact it's the NFL.
Right. The difference, the distinction I'm drawing here is these are kicks that everyone should be making at a near automatic pace.
Yeah.
And if you look at what the numbers are across the league on kicks of the range that he's missing, it's 100%. Maybe Greg Joseph changed that after he missed 2 yesterday. I didn't watch the end of that game.
That is correct, yep.
But it's that bad.
So
It's bad.
again, is this actually like a holder issue or a coaching issue? If this is the second kicker now that the Packers have had issues with, and the coaching staff and the holder haven't changed, like I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here.
I mean, it's not a bad point, right? Look elsewhere. I just don't think it can be that.
The problem is most special teams coaches are not kicking specialists. There's like one guy, I believe Rob Demoski was talking about this. There's like one or two guys that everyone goes to, and they run big enough businesses where they can just deal with all the kickers in the offseason and like as special coaches. Like Bisaccia isn't the one necessarily like coaching him up on kicking, nor is any other guy. Now, I'm not going to defend Rich Bisaccia. I've been out on him since the day they signed him.
Yeah, Bisaccia fan club president Josh DiMaggio.
Yeah, so like at some point they did find out his left leg, his plant leg, was the wrong direction, and that was found out by the long snapper who was looking through his legs upside down. Was like, hey, your foot's kind of in a misplaced spot there, and that's why he's missed every kick to the right. And I think what could have happened, and I don't want to make excuses for the guy, is it was a high snap. So maybe that rushed his process.
But
like I think of kicking much like golfing. Like once you fix one thing, something else pops up. So if everything isn't going the right way, you kind of like I've developed more slices and duck hooks throughout my golfing career than I can account for, and most of them have been the same thing.
Did you just make an analogy from Braden Narvison's leg to your golf game?
Yes.
You landed it, too. Well done.
Yeah, because it's all mechanics.
It's all mechanics. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
a good point.
If you're putting your foot in the wrong spot, that's like, well, you did this when you were swinging your golf club.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. It's scary, and I don't think they're going to do anything about it ahead of Sunday. So
I think it's going to have to cost them a game.
Hopefully it's this weekend, then. Because I want them to address it ASAP.
Yeah.
And I'm not rooting for them to lose, but
if it costs them a game when you're just talking about how good this division is, that's going to cost them the division.
Yeah.
Because that's how tight this margin's going to be.
All the games.
Yeah, no, this division is freaking unbelievable, man. I mean, it's crazy that
Except the Bears are frauds.
Yeah, I don't know. I won't argue, but
they literally have like the
serious.
second worst strength of victory and the like second worst strength of schedule, and they're 4-2. They're frauds.
Well, no.
Trust me, I've seen it for 30 years with the Cowboys. Like, I know what a fraud is when I see one. They're frauds. They're going to beat up on bad teams, have a better schedule or better record than what they actually are, and they're getting to the playoffs, and they're going to get blown out in the wild card. I've seen it before.
I knew there was a tiny hands lash out coming at some point. I'm just glad it wasn't against me or Josh.
Yeah.
It was towards the Chicago Bears, which he can do every day as far as I'm concerned.
I've upgraded the Chicago Bears from worthless losers to frisky now.
Oh,
interesting.
They can take over the Arizona Cardinals, I think.
Yeah,
because I think the Cardinals aren't very good.
They're frisky.
Anyway, all right, we're gonna wrap up the show, but first, got to tell you about my friends over at Underdog and UnderdogFantasy.com. We were in the game this weekend, man. Joshy fell a George Pickens touchdown away from $1,300 on a pick'em entry on the Underdog app. Brutal break, but Joshy still had a pretty good weekend. I had an okay weekend. I lost a couple bucks on the Underdog app. But Underdog is so fun. It elevates the game watching experience. All you do is you select player projections, anywhere from 2 to 8 player projections. All you do is click higher or lower on said projections. You create a pick'em entry, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money on the Underdog app. If you sign up today using promo code GOODKARMA, all one word, GOODKARMA, Good Karma at sign up on the Underdog app or UnderdogFantasy.com, you get up to $1,000 in deposit match and a free pick on the Underdog app. And all October long, giving out special tokens, profit boosts, free picks, all the in-betweens. Underdog is the best way to watch along this football season. Underdog app, UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code GoodKarma, Joshy.
On Underdog, they have the Red Zone Rush that you'll see right at the top there. That's where they put some of your like bonus picks that, some of the freebies they give out. That's what I was playing all this weekend. And you mentioned the George Pickens short of $1,300. It was a $5 entry. I realized that I would rather just not be close than get everything.
Oh, yeah.
I was rooting against Tracy even though it still benefited me for him to score because I had flexed that entry. I was rooting for it not to happen because it feels even worse. And there was 3 entries I had that to this point fell one short. I had another one of 5. There was actually 6 total entries. It was Dobbins, A.J. Brown, David Montgomery, Alvin Kamara, Tony Pollard, and CeeDee Lamb.
Oh.
And CeeDee Lamb was in
Hunter. Yeah, tough one.
And then I fell short one single Caleb Williams rush of hitting an 8 for $1,100.
Josh, he's heartbroken.
Yeah.
But he's going to keep going back, baby.
I've got one for tonight.
Unbelievable. UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code Good Karma at sign. We are running way late. So rapid fire. What did we learn?
I learned that I'm a whiny baby when I lose my entries.
Yep. Okay. Glad you found out something we already knew. Hunter, what did you learn?
I learned that the Graham Mertz dream might be over. He tore his ACL against Tennessee.
I was going to use this too. Yeah.
I'm
Graham
so
Mertz,
sad.
Florida quarterback, former Wisconsin Badger. His college football tenure is over. It has come to an end as he tears his ACL for Florida. Is the NFL in question still for Mertz?
He needed the full season, and he was putting up the numbers that I think he would have gotten, like Senior Bowl, combine looks. He might be able to get a medical red shirt for the year and go somewhere else, but like I'm heartbroken. I believed in that guy. He was playing well. He was figuring it out. They were actually using him the right way, and then it was just done.
Well.
Heartbroken.
Yes, my heart breaks for him.
Hunter is a huge Mertz guy.
He was
wild.
good. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Paul Chris just sucks as a coach.
I don't know if I'd go that far on either
Paul
one of those. But
You're playing fast and loose with the G word.
yeah, fast and loose.
No, he was good. He was a good quarterback. He deserved
I'm not
better.
having this debate.
It isn't a debate. He was good.
But
It's not even a debate.
He wasn't. He was good against Illinois once. Other than that, he was not good.
Because Paul Chris wasn't good.
Fine. Whatever, dude. That does it for us today. A big thanks to Brad Nortman for jumping on. Thanks to Joshy and Hunter for keeping us on the air, making us sound good. And big thanks to all you who have watched along on this Victory Monday. Double Victory Monday for both the Badgers and the Packers. It was fun breaking it down with you. We'll do it again Wednesday beginning at 12:30. ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison on YouTube, and, of course, available wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Wisconsin on demand. 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on Mr. Relevant, which, of course, is presented by Door County Distillery. We'll talk to you Wednesday. Enjoy your Victory Monday. Enjoy being good again. 4-2 for both of them. Let's go. Peace.